Happy Friday. What's up, family? Yes. Come on into the room, kids. Yes. I hope you had a beautiful week. Thank you for being here, fam. Hey, Chris Nobles. Christy Lowry, I need to come see you, baby. I love you. Yes. Chris Nobles, how are you, beautiful? You're dancing ass. Yes. Yes. Come on in, kids. Christy. Yes. I hope you guys had a great week. I do. There's so much going on in the world. But hopefully you had a beautiful week. Yes. I'm fanning myself because it is hot up in here. And there is a bachata concert going on outside my window. But that's okay. Because people are alive and they are partying and they are happy. And we've just, we're still in the pandemic, but we're coming out of it. And people have got to find their joy where they can. So, yes, indeed. Yes, come on, kids. Yes. Come on in. Let me throw up some photos real quick of my guest today. This brother, okay, just beautiful. Come on, Sharrif Simmons. I see your request, Sharrif. I'm gonna get to you in a hot second. Hopefully it works. Yes, come on. This is my brother, Sharrif Simmons, kids. He's amazing. Yes, I'm so proud to bring him in today. Come on, look at that. That was actually Summerstage, I think 2009. Yes, with Earth Driver. Come on. Hey, Kate. Yes, come on, family. We have Sharrif Simmons in the house today. Let's see. Ah, beautiful. So powerful. Yes. So Sharrif and I did a little sound check earlier. And hopefully, fingers crossed, all tech. We're good? Okay, I'll get you in a hot minute, Sharrif. I just need to throw up some photos because Sharrif is just, oh man, so powerful. And I am so proud to say I have performed with this brother. And look at that. I love that one. So fabulous. So welcome, you guys. I hope you had a beautiful week. I had a great week. I got a chance to spread my wings. I did some guest curating. I did guest moderating for some different organizations. So gave the chance to spread my artistic curating wings a little bit. Felt really good this week. So just trying to stay positive and grateful. And I hope you are too, no matter what your troubles are. I hope you're being safe and, that you're okay. So my guest today, I have known since 1998 when I fell into the music scene. And I started singing with this brother. Oh, wait, let me see if I can find the photo of us, Sharrif, together in Medusa Oblongata. Oh, here it is. Oh, there we are. Okay, so this photo is from the band Medusa Oblongata, led by Greg Tate. And if you look in the back, there's me in the black bikini top. Okay, I used to perform at Bikini Tops, kids. Yes! And there's Sharrif to my left, right over the man with the white scarf on his head. So that's Sharrif. So that's the band we were all in together back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So what can I say about Sharrif? Performer, artist, author, songwriter, musician, poet, and arts educator. He started his education as a poet at U.C.LA, which he calls the University on the Corner of Lenox Avenue, which was Liberation Bookstore, founded by his Grandaunt Una Mulzac. And I hope I'm saying that right. You can correct me when you come on, Sharrif. He says that poetry chose him the night that he saw Sonia Sanchez at the Schomburg. I love that it chose him. He has performed. He's a regular on the New York scene, a staple of the New York scene, Nuyorican Poets Cafe, The Cooler. Remember The Cooler, guys? Do you guys remember The Cooler? CBGB's, Brooklyn Moon Cafe, Joe's Pub, and of course, a Summerstage. In 2005, he made his debut on HBO's Def Poetry Jam and has been referred to as his generation's Gil Scott-Heron. Amazing. His first collection of poems, Fast Cities of Objects That Burn, was published by More Black Press. I believe that was 2005, maybe later. Sharrif, you can tell me. Great, again, by Sharrif's longtime love and best friend, good friend, Jessica Caremore, our family. It's family, right? And so there's so much I want to ask him about, and let me go and grab him in because we have lots to discuss. So let me cancel out of that. And thank you guys for being here. All right, Sharrif Simmons. Technical difficulties. Uh-oh. Oh my God. And the waiting period is always the moment. So I've been producing and presenting long enough to not sweat these technical snafus. So we're gonna see what happens. Yeah, so I sent him an invitation and I'm hoping that it works. I'm gonna try it one more time. Send request. Okay. Oh man. Well, in the meantime, did you guys see that little island on the west side of New York opened today? You know, I know it's controversial. A lot of people are upset because of the money that was spent on it and so much is needed for New York. However, it is a beautiful, really beautiful venue. I got to go there this week. And, oh, Sharrif, it's still saying you're unable to join, my love. I don't know what to do. Yeah. I don't know if your update didn't work or I'm not sure. Try going live yourself on your own phone and see if it will allow you because, so sorry guys, Instagram the app might need access to your microphone and camera. So Sharrif, try going live yourself and then come back over. So yes, so I believe the press release went out today, guys, that for the season for Little Island, and I've actually been asked to perform at Little Island in September as a dancer, as a former professional Alvin Ailey, oh, I'm sweating, former Alvin Ailey professional dancer, and Philadelphia, of course. I've been asked to perform by guest curators in residence, Toria Beard, and her wife, Ayodele Cassell, the fabulous Ayodele Cassell. And the show is called Don't Call It a Comeback. So more to come on that. I'm not sure the scope of it yet, how much dancing I'll be doing. And you know, and we'll see what it looks like. So so Sharrif is telling us, acting funny, just send. I'm not sure what that means. So we'll give us some more time. I may have to reschedule Sharrif, but it's okay. These things happen. Okay, I'm gonna try to send you one more time, Sharrif, for requests. And we'll see. But, you know, oh, okay, I just did. We'll see.
Came together. Lord, mercy. They almost didn't want us to do it, sister. They almost didn't want us to do it.
I'm over here sweating and about to pass out.
I'm so glad that came together. Woo!
Okay, so now that you're on, let us see your whole face. I can't see your whole face, so move your camera down so we can see that long, beautiful face of yours and that beard.
What's going on? Can you see me now?
Yes.
Can you see me now?
So we do know, because Sharrif did tell me before that his internet has been a little wonky. So we're going to just, you know, muscle through.
We are. I'm glad it worked out. I mean, this thing has been doing it all day yesterday, but here we are. Are we live now, right? We good?
We are live now. So listen, if something, whatever happens, listen, I can't sweat it. I mean, I'm sweating, but I can't sweat it. It's all good. You look wonderful. And hey, if we have to have you back, we'll just have to have you back.
You know, exactly. But I am here, and thank you for your great introduction. I feel honored and truly blessed. And you know, we got years, so this should be an interesting conversation. This should be an interesting. Yeah, you got to drink that wine. That might turn into something stronger in a minute.
I've been trying to cut back. I was just telling the kids that I'm performing in September in my dancer self. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna, hey, Kevin Powell. So I need to snatch it up. I gotta snatch it up by September, kids. I can't be out there looking crazy, so you know.
Yes, ma'am. That's all good. So glad this worked out. Glad, and congratulations on everything, Danny. I mean, this show has been great. I've been checking it, and just like being present and after all this time, you know, we just stayed in and are still offering ourselves to this public and doing good work. So I'm grateful to be here, no doubt.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful to have you. And I was just explaining how we initially met. So, all right. So how it all happened was
How it
I
happened
I
was.
had to leave Alvin Ailey from an injury, and I moved back to Philly to get my mind right. And so I moved back to New York, partially because of a man, but whatever, we ain't gonna go there right now. Okay. But then I was, you know, tooling around the city with this gentleman, and we ran into the illustrious Greg Tate at his roost at Barnes and Nobles near Astor Place. Remember that spot, Sharrif, on Astor Place?
I
Where
know
Greg
it well.
So we roll up, and after I stopped dancing, I had decided that I was gonna stop perming my hair. I was gonna go all natural and all these other things. So I bleached blonde. It been bleached blonde. I was looking crazy, and my boyfriend at the time said to Greg Tate, well, you know, she's a singer and she's trying to get into some music. And so Greg Tate said to me, well, you want to audition for my band? And I was like, sure. And what did I have to lose, right? So I go to Greg Tate's apartment. I guess were you sharing the apartment at that time?
I was, me and Omari was sitting right in there. You was like, who is this crazy kid? He was a handful back then, boy.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
that's the day I met you when you came in. I was there, yeah.
I go to Greg Tate's apartment on Edgecombe Avenue,
Yep.
and Sharrif was like, oh, hey.
That's what I was. So I was like, yeah, she should be in the band, bro. She should definitely be in the band. Definitely.
Okay. Get my vocals together. I was just cute hitting that tambourine, so it's all good.
But you sang your heart out. You still singing it. You know, Sugar Bush ain't a joke. So, and I've seen many shows since then, you know.
So the beautiful thing about that was, guys, I was, you know, I've said this many times and I'm not ashamed to say it, but I was supremely depressed after leaving, you know, Ailey the way that I had to. I was really peaking in my career. I just started dancing Cry and all these amazing roles and the posters, and then had to leave. And so having to leave my Ailey family and then coming back to New York and being enveloped and embraced and loved and just given so much joy from my New York music family, you, Greg Tate, Freedom, Jessica Karen Moore, Lisa Jesse Peterson, Swiss Chris. I mean, this Tom Lubay, Trevor Holder. I mean, I can go on, Mikkel Banks. I can go on and on and on.
Mick Boogie.
Maximina Jussan, you know, even back in the day, Alice Smith, you know, when she would like come in here and there.
Yeah.
It was just such a family of us, and we're still connected, which I love, love, love. And you guys really got me through. Like, you guys got me through. And because of meeting you all and singing with you guys, especially Jessica that one night, you know, which is how Sugar Bush was really born. I felt the courage to be able to start my own band and tool around, and it's been great.
When y'all went to Atlanta with the Black Rock Coalition, y'all went down there and did what is that? What cover? We were doing a Miles Davis, the thing with Max Roach and all that.
We went to the Black. I mean, that was my first time, I guess, really touring in my music life. Because I don't think at that point I had started singing full time with Kathy Sledge yet. But and even that.
Oh, like, yeah, that's right. You was out with Kathy Sledge. You just wanted to Sister Sledge for a minute. Like.
What is this life we're leading, Sharrif? What is this life we have?
Yeah.
Atlanta and just all over. And then like looking at reading through your bio, I don't know if you guys are familiar with some of the older clubs, but the Cooler back in the day was the spot.
Yeah, I clearly need to update my info on my bio on my website. But you're right. I mean, I'm still there. Like, I just got to add a few more. But that's where it all began. The New York in the 90s, you know, it was a couple of things. It was the heyday of hip hop, like, you know, things were really moving. You know, Biggie was bringing it to the East again. You know, Bad Boy and all them were representing. You know, and then the poetry movement was taking another form. Obviously, it had already taken root in the 60s. You know, and inherited from Gil Scott-Heron, inherited from Amiri Baraka and Abiodun Oyewale and the whole last poet, Masim Umar bin Hassan. You know, they were still very present, you know, I remember, you know, Abiodun doing used to be like, stop talking about us like we in the past. He's like, I'm still alive. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we can celebrate them, but these aren't, you know, they were very alive and present and influential on us at that time. And
they were very present. I remember doing a show at CBGB's gallery, and
yeah,
Abiodun came through, and he was like, what was that last song you sung? And I was like, a Technicolor Pasture. And he was like, tell me those lyrics, because my set was over. So I just remember reciting the lyrics for him. He was like, yeah, sis. Yeah, keep it going. I was like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? So what beautiful memories we all have. CBGBs, all of it. And remember that spot on Franklin? What was it? The Underground? What was it called?
Fort Farms Underground.
Fort
Farms. That's when I had Speaking Seeds and Survival Sounds and the avant-garde movement. And I mean, woo, you know, we were really in New York at that time. You know, New York City was home. It was like we added a lot of the cultural vibrancy, the alternative to what was popular. Like we were like part of this underground movement, which poetry, you know, lived in. It was the alternative to a lot of other mainstream train of thought. And I know we mentioned, you know, Gil Scott-Heron being inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which really is a huge step in acknowledging the different branches of the oral tradition. You know, hip hop became one particular branch, which got more monetized and more popular and maybe more accessible. And the oral tradition had a distinct cousin, which is us, the poets on the underground, like doing kind of a different interpretation of a lot of that, and you know, clearly political and with an agenda to awaken folks. So you know, I was glad to be a part of that too.
And so how do you, I mean, I definitely wanted to touch on that because as I mentioned in the intro, you know, you've been referred to as this generation's Gil Scott-Heron. And so what's your first recollection of being called that, or how did you feel about that? Was a lot of pressure? Did you feel like, oh, I don't want to take on that mantle? Or how did that feel?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, when I first got exposed to Gil Scott-Heron, I mean, really heard what was happening with him was when I came back from Ethiopia. So, you know, I was raised in Ethiopia, and I lived there for a long time. And then my uncle had his album at the house. And I never dreamed that I'd be doing poetry and music, but that was, you know, Gil Scott-Heron was just in my head. I was like, wow, I dug that. The revolution would not be televised. I was like, man, that's all right. But I was much younger. And so many moons later, a brother named Brian Backus, you know Backus?
Brian,
right?
Yes.
So Brian meets me and says the same exact thing, man, because he came to one of the poetry readings I did way back in the day. I used to have poetry readings at my brownstone when I worked at Liberation Bookstore. That was my aunt's bookstore. And so I would have poetry readings across the street. And I was about 22 or something, 23.
Wow.
And he came there, yeah, much younger. I was just getting started. That's where I saw Sonia Sanchez at the Schomburg.
Right.
And that's when my whole poetry thing started, where I was like, I had been writing, but I didn't realize I could speak it and live it that way. And when I started to do it a few times, Brian Backus came to one of the readings and took me to the Bertelmans group, to BMG, because he was an A&R there. He's the one who Brian Backus was the one who introduced Omar to America. Like, Saturday, what do you do? Right, so Bertelmans Group was a German company that owned all of Gil Scott-Heron's music, right? And that's how whatever chain of events happened, they had every single, and I think BMG might have they were like a subsidiary of Arista Records, and then they got all absorbed. There's only like 5 labels now, or whatever. Right. So this is when he was part of like a boutique label that was part of the Bertelsmann Group. And Backus was an A&R there, and I was about 22, and he gave me every single CD Gil had ever, his whole collection. And that's when I started to make the connection.
Wow.
But it was a lot more organic. Like I had already been in the space that I was in with the way I was writing things. I may have written Fast Cities and Objects That Burn already, you know, and then Gil just kind of affirmed that. And then I got to meet Gil, and I got to open a few times, would read some poems at some of the places at SOBs or what have you.
SOB. So wait. So pause there. Tell us about, well, first of all, I'm blown away. I think Monique Martin's watching. I did not know about that connection with you and Brian Backus. I adore Brian Backus. And I met Brian, as you know, working with Summerstage, and he always comes on to production manage Charlie Parker Jazz Festival. And he's just incredible. We stay in touch here and there. But I never knew that connection. But tell me about meeting Gil Scott-Heron for the first time. And where was it?
So the very first time I met Gil Scott-Heron was at SOBs. He was playing there one night, and I had a tape, and I was determined to give this brother my tape. I was like, he's gonna hear this, and I'm gonna blow up because he's gonna not be able to deny it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that tape got left in the dressing room. But through time, me, him, and Jess opened up for him a few times also. And I remember me and her working together a lot, and our worlds just combined, and we invited him over for dinner, and he never showed up, but like we were on the phone a lot. No, Gil was, Gil was a trip. But, and then we just started talking on the phone, and he was encouraging me to keep moving. And so the issue of me trying to give him my music through that way actually evolved in a different way, where I got to talk directly to this brother. And I think more so than me being a direct inheritor of his legacy, it was me and Carl Hancock Rux and people who chose to adapt music into our poetry. That's really what the journey that Gil Scott-Heron's influence on me allowed me license to do, to incorporate poetry and music. Yeah. And that was part of some of my career, most of my career in that way. And I think a lot of it was Gil and I physically looked alike,
Yeah, and the voice. I mean, your voice is amazing, Sharrif. Like I just remember when we first met and then got to work together, and just listening to your voice. Your voice is amazing. Well, and there are similarities for sure. You can't deny that.
Yeah, they were physical in nature, and they were thought process was the same. And Liberation Bookstore is really when I worked there for 5 years with my Aunt Una. That's what changed my whole life. That's the reason why we're talking right now. Was working at Liberation Bookstore in the early 90s. And all of that, the 90s was a powerful decade for variety. It was strong. It was really the root of, it's hard to imagine, So when you came into the apartment that day, I remember this vividly. I was just like, Lord have mercy, look at this one right here. I was like, right, for real. I was like, where did you find her? And then you were singing too. I was like, she can sing too, dog. But like my whole game then was, interrupted by my son. And I remember Omari being in there and coming out like, what? Like he was still a 2-year-old. You believe that boy 26 years old now?
Oh, your son is amazing. Omari Jazzade. Come on.
Yeah.
Those of you with him and go on Facebook and Instagram. And you just, I love the ones where I see you like looking at him and you just look so proud and just so much love there.
I mean, it's hard not to be, man. I mean, that brother there, man. I mean, I'm so incredibly proud. And, I always quote Langston Hughes, life ain't been no crystal staircase. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't just laid out for us. And on paper, the struggle might have been different, but we just were surrounded by a whole village of people who helped raise the boy, really.
Absolutely. And I still have the toy that he gave me when I came to the apartment. It's this little like, oh, I should have brought it out. I have it in a little bag in my closet. But it's like one of these little action figures that he just handed to me. And I've
Yeah.
had it ever since.
I believe that's great. You gotta, yeah, you gotta have to show me that because I love that. That's great. You know, he was always like a generous, present
Yeah.
child. He went on, and now if I could brag on him a little bit, like
Yeah, please.
yeah, he's been producing music. He just did a commercial for Puffy's vodka thing, so he's getting big
No!
money lately.
What?
Yeah, and during the pandemic, his album that he put out was the highest selling album on Bandcamp.
Shut up, Sharif. Are
It
you
was in front.
serious?
Yeah, it was in front of. You know, I always bring it out. I took a screenshot of it at some point because it was like he was influenced really by not Supercat,
Thundercat?
Flying Lotus and
Oh,
Thundercat and all that. And Thundercat it was Omari's album and Thundercat's right next to him. I was like, man, come on, man. Like,
God.
it would be like me and Gil Scott getting me being inducted with Gil, you know, that same kind of arrival for him. So, and he did that at a young age. So I'm really proud of that guy.
Absolutely. So if you guys are just joining, I'm talking with Sharrif Simmons, and we're just discussing his beautiful, amazing son, Omari Jazzadeh. I think after we wrap this, I'll make sure I link his album to my link tree just to give him show him some love. But
Yeah, Dream Child. Dream Child is the name of it.
so
Yeah, great album.
take me back to, because I have forgotten about your Ethiopia days. Tell me how you said you grew up there, you were raised there. How did that become a thing? What was that?
So I'll give your audience just a brief preview. I'm in the middle of my memoir right now, right? So
Yes, wait. What's it called? The cabbage, jazz cabbage?
yeah, Jazz Cabbage will be the second one, right?
Oh,
So what I had been doing, Danny, for a long time, I had been writing like 3 books in one, right? And the pandemic, I'm think for a lot of your audience and for a lot of people in general, it was just an upgrade. Like you had time to really think about what you wanted to do. I know I did, and I know a lot of people I speak to were able to better construct what their world was going to look like once it started open up, you know, to open up again. And for me, I really learned how to write a book as opposed to I put the process ahead of the aspiration, you know. I think I had
oh, say
aspiration.
that again. Say that
I
again.
put the process before my aspiration, right?
I love
Which I had, you know, I had it backwards. I admit it. Like I had, you know, I was letting the horse way out before the cart and all the barn and all the door, all them analogies that apply.
that.
And my heart was in a good place. My intention was clear, but I realized that I was kind of at a learning curve. And so I taught myself how to write memoir. And in that process, I learned that I had been writing 3 books at one time. And so I broke it up. So the first book, which will be available early 2022, I'm going to claim that right now as we speak.
Yes.
First promotion is called An American African Story.
Okay.
And it's about my upbringing in Ethiopia. So it tells the story of when I moved to Ethiopia when I was 8 and I came back to America when I was 14.
Wow.
So my whole development was in Ethiopia. I speak French. That's why I went to the French lycée for years, and I spoke Amharic for a long time, but I lost Amharic, and I grew up in Jeddah and Dodowat and Ethiopian food. And so like, you know, but then I had to come back to it. I had culture shock in Ethiopia, because when we got there, it was in the midst of a revolution. So we came right in the throes of when Haile Selassie had been deposed by the military. All Americans were being told to leave, so we had to live under my stepfather's passport from Upper Volta, from Ouagadougou, from when I was 7. So I was like fronting like I was from West Africa from 8 till I was 14.
Wow.
And then I came back to America and I couldn't speak English because I started dreaming in French. And so my whole system, I had to relearn. I was born in America, but I had to take English, the ESL classes with all my friends.
Are you serious?
I was in ESL in 7th grade. I don't know how I never told this story in general. So this book's gonna be interesting because I finally found the voice to focus on that period of
Yes.
my life.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and so some of the themes in there are, you know, specifically it had to do with the culture shock of being there first and being living under communism and socialism for long, and then coming back to America where I had to become black again. And if I want to explain what that means specifically, and the book goes into that narrative, it's not a political book or I'm trying to say nothing. It's just really my experience. Yeah. And what I had to do, because in Africa, you ain't black. You're just another person. And in America, you have an identity here that's forged by America. Like ain't no white people messing with you in Africa. I used to ask my mom, like, where's the white people at? Like it was class, right? Like I grew up under all the oppression looked just like me.
Right.
You didn't really have, that easily identified. Yeah, there was neo-colonialism, but Ethiopia was never colonized. It stayed free forever. I mean, Haile Selassie. So I didn't even have that external neo-colonialism there. There might have been some external influences.
Yeah.
But when I came back to America, I began to have to be or explain my blackness and choose a side. Like, are you black or you foreign? Like, where you at? And that was beaten into me, actually. It wasn't like a choice, you know what I'm saying? Because it was a rough adaptation, adapting back to Long Island when I came back. And all of my friends, because I spoke French, all my friends were from Haiti, but this was 82. And around 82 when they were, chasing Haitians home. And so at 3 o'clock in my school, they had the Haitian chase. It started exactly at 3.
No,
and
are you serious?
You had to run through and I had a nice little way to get home, you know what I mean? And I used to try to convince people I was American as if that would give me a pass. But I spoke with an African accent. Like, why would you do this thing to me? I have done nothing to you. Why are you chasing me through this pocket? You take my sneaker. They stole my sneakers. They took my mom. Like, oh no, it was a trip coming back here. So, but I say that to say that my time in Ethiopia is what led me to poetry, because I had to relearn English in my ESL classes, and I started to understand what you could do with English, and that eventually is what inspired me to become a writer. It stayed with me. I started using language as a tool to survive. One, I had to describe where I was at. Like, I was like, yo, my cousins will come fuck you up. That kind of stuff. I had to learn that shit quick. I really used the language for variety, but it also inspired something in my mind that I saw the elasticity of it all. And so my first foray into language and rhythm was I used to do hip hop, like any other, in the 80s. I used to break dance. I went on a break dance tour all the way in.
You told me about this.
I think I might have showed you a few moves here and there. Once that tequila kicked in, I'll be like, yo, you want to see something? I still got it.
I can't.
Yeah, but it's been an interesting. So that's what I'm working on with the narrative of the story of that real coming to America. Like,
you're gonna be crying over here. You are so crazy, Sharrif.
Yeah,
well, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, I actually, I've been writing even my own story, and it's been taking me a while because, I just feel like my journey is about just reinvention and how, you can't get stuck in that sort of, what's that thing, imposter syndrome, just because maybe one thing didn't work out or whatever, but just, we have other avenues we can explore, and that's okay. And they're all valid. You know what I mean? So feeling boxed in is not an option. So my journey goes obviously from my Southwest Philly upbringing to becoming a professional dancer, and what that was, being raised by a single mom and traveling the world. And then this awful thing happens where I have to stop dancing at the peak of my career. And then all of a sudden I'm singing with disco divas. Like, really?
And that's what I learned in the pandemic, that one, everybody's story has value, even if you worked at the post office or what. Like, it's not the story, it's the way you write it. And that's really the value. It's like you could tell any story, but when you put the work in and bring the form and like, again, you know, avoid the trappings of the ambition and go back into the core of the process.
Yes.
That's where I feel much more comfortable. And I've my last few years I've dealt with imposter syndrome. Like, every once in a while I dig out an old poem, like, look, past the distant stars, the mother earth fuckers, like I'll jump back into it, like, you know, lean on the stuff I've done, you know, that make. And now I feel I'm a lot more comfortable in the time and the age and the skin I'm in and the place I'm in, you know, and I'm looking forward to that kind of.
I mean, listen, I'm definitely one of those people that don't want to rest on our laurels, don't rest on like what was. But sometimes, you know, you have that moment where you do need a little confidence booster, and you gotta look back at your stuff and be like, yeah, I did that. Let me stop messing around. It's, you know what I'm saying? I did that, and just to propel, use it to propel you forward, not to sit in that same space, but use it to really push you forward to that next thing. And so, even with the music though, because you play guitar, you play. Where did the music come into the picture?
That's a great question. So the first part of it was the spoken word and the literary part, right? But the music thing, why I picked that guitar up, the sole reason why I chose acoustic was when I saw Richie Havens on the documentary for Woodstock. And he started that whole concert by himself, just one man in front of millions, right? With this acoustic, and because they were having sound problems, they told him to keep playing. And he just made up a song on the spot that became like a huge hit, that America piece that was a Richie Havens song. And there was something about that moment, truly. I watched that when I was in college at SUNY College at Old Westbury, and we sat around watching this documentary about some footage about Woodstock in the late 80s. And I was like, I'm gonna pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
You know, and I just did, and I started working on it, and I'm not at the space I want to be, but I ended up incorporating that into my voice and working with it. And then the influence of Gil Scott-Heron and Sonia Sanchez and Amiri Baraka. Now, you can see, I worked at Liberation Bookstore. So my aunt, Una Mulzac, you know, was the oldest bookstore black bookstore in the United States for that most part, but definitely in Harlem.
Yeah.
She made history in Harlem as one of the oldest. There was Mr. Mashaw before, which was the Tree of Life in Harlem. That was founded around the time of the Renaissance period. So I walked into her life, and out of all my family members and all, she was like, this dude kind of gets it, you know. She was on the radical side of things, and so was I. Like, not at that point, because I was raised like most American Africans who are from suburbs. You know, we were very assimilation oriented. You know, it was all about assimilating and getting stuff, and you know. And aspirational. Our whole culture was like, you know, middle class, working class. You know, we weren't out there making no noise. I mean, our parents, they weren't all down with Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was not liked when he was around, right? And now they talk about Kumbaya. You got Republicans quoting him. Lord, I'm so glad that dude is out of, I mean, I ain't gonna make that left turn. It was making me sick, man. Let's cheers to that. Let's cheers to that. God. I don't know if you remember my post on Facebook when I was going in on this dude. But point being is, you know, my aunt Una, though, she turned me on to, I learned more in the 6 months that I worked there about Black history and my culture than the entire of all the grade school and all the college I took, period.
Right.
Even from the African-American studies courses, or, you know, however way you want to describe it, that particular Black studies courses at Old Westbury were only focusing on literature and all. Like, I didn't know the real political dynamics of how, you know, I started reading books by Walter Rodney, you know, Cats from the Caribbean, you know, Sheikh Anta Diop, cats, scholars from West Africa who talked about how Europe underdeveloped, Africa. Even looking at the map, how they had like made America bigger on the map than Africa. Like you could fit America 5 times into Africa. Yeah, they
See?
had it. And then there was a thing called the Peters map that gave it. And I realized how Eurocentric and how centered the culture was. So at first that turned into anger, right? Somebody been lying to you for a long time. You get rebellious. And a lot of my early work was about like, y'all could kiss my ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And over time, I and identify with that radical dialogue and that conversation, and it evolved into other things, and the music began to complement that. And so I recorded my first album, The Echo Effect, with Jeremiah Hosea.
Yes.
It went back in Queens with Swiss Chris. We had Ryan Waters. Remember Ryan?
Ryan Waters.
And then what do you call Kirk Douglas? All of them cats.
Okay, wait, let me stop you right there because people, y'all need to understand this was the crew back in the day. Kirk Douglas is now the Axeman for the Roots and has been the Roots now, right, since forever. And then Ryan Waters is the lead guitarist or one of the Stuart Matthewman for Sade, who, I mean, we were the crew, man. And Swiss Chris, all the hip hop heads he played with, and he's doing some residency in Brooklyn somewhere. I mean, just
it was
incredible.
It was a strong time. It made, I cut my teeth on it, raised my son through it, traveled through life with that. I never threw in the towel. I just stayed in and leaned on some of it. Then I began to tour out in Europe a lot and and then I developed a fan base and got people and began to really take myself seriously in that conversation.
I remember when you started going to Amsterdam. You went to Amsterdam a lot.
A lot, yeah.
What's that club? The Paradiso?
Paradiso, yeah. Babs Hong used to book me there a lot because she had Palabras, which was like a spoken word. We had a reunion on that years ago. I just opened myself up to the world and felt a lot of what the possibilities were. And that helped a lot, really opening myself up to that experience was an important part, and you will, we've been front and center. I've been knowing you now since, like I said, '98. Omari was 2. Yeah, we doing the math, and you look great. Like you wearing it, lovely, love. Like,
thank you. Okay, I did a little blush for you. I did a little blush on the lipstick.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't forget. God. I can't remember what year you had a New Year's Eve party. And I came up there, me and Nefertiti.
Nefertiti.
Guvu.
Listen, you guys. Hey, Felipe Rose from the Village People, original Indian. Yes, in the house.
What's going on, brother? Been a big fan since I was a kid. Actually,
we're really great friends. And, he did one of my lives with me a little while back. And Felipe is amazing.
That's fantastic.
He has new music coming out as well.
Oh,
but
great.
that New Year's Eve party, oh my God. First of all, we're in my apartment here where I am now. And I don't know who told who, but all of a sudden everybody started showing up. Remember that?
Let me tell you, it was 10 minutes left and I couldn't find a parking spot. Do you know I just stopped the car and left it out with the hazards on and came up to your party? Left it in the street.
There has to be, and then you know it's family because everyone always goes into the kitchen, and my kitchen is not that big, but everybody seemed to be in the kitchen at one point. Remember, and Frida was there with beautiful Patricia.
Yeah.
His amazing wife and mother of his 2 beautiful babies.
Oh, well, I'm sitting at his work desk. If y'all want to see that, they go to beautiful family. This is when Orion was a little baby, right?
Oh, look at that. Come on.
Like that's, I think that's that's definitely little Orion. And then I'm sitting there in his office, like, and this is the rest. This is the baby. This is a little Jupiter, and like,
oh,
so I've been here with them for the whole pandemic and everything. I've just been out here.
Yeah. I mean, I love your guys' friendship. It's inspiring. Yeah. When you think about, I've seen you both interact and just as men, but you touch each other, you hug each other. There's There's none of that other like toxic masculinity stuff. Like you guys are
No.
so physical and beautiful. And I think, I mean, like Frida spent years in Ethiopia as well. And I just think it's a cultural thing where you see other cultures that don't get into all of the, oh, we can't, like even today, I gotta tell you, I was walking down the street behind this man and his son. And the son probably looked about 4 years old, 5 years old. And he just instinctively went to reach up to grab his father's hand. And the father, like,
Yeah,
what
that's
is that?
deep.
It's
No,
deep.
it is. It's toxic. It's all the current words and all that, but it's also designed to separate and to somehow I feel like, I was just thinking about this and I'm writing about it now, about how I was raised in Ethiopia, distinctly. And that was a big connection for me and Free, right? So I had met him right before he went to Ethiopia, right? And everybody thought we were brothers, right? At first, because we were. Like, he was just like, that's your brother. I was like, and then we were both from Long Island, you know what I mean? So it was all like, that's your brother right there. And I was like, yeah, it is. For all we know, we could be brothers, given, how
Right.
black
Right.
families are, you know what I mean? But either way, he went to Addis, and then when he came back, I think I caught up with him 2 days after that, and we've been rolling ever since. And that was 26 years ago, 27
Wow.
years, something like that. Like,
That's so
long time,
beautiful.
you
Um,
know. Yeah.
so going back really quickly, so if you guys don't know, this year is the 10th year of the passing of Gil Scott-Heron. And I'm so glad that Sharrif was able to come on today because just the timing of it all is just so wonderful. I mean, of course, we wish he was still here on this earth with us, but Gil Scott-Heron passed away May 27, which is a few days from now, in 2011, and then with the induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but with, of course, my diva queen Tina Turner, who I'm just so happy about. It's like she wasn't there already. I was like,
Right?
really overdue. But so just wanted to honor that and so thankful that I got to see him perform. Probably a year before he passed, he did Summerstage in
Oh, wow.
Park in Harlem. I actually have pictures,
Oh,
and
that's great.
also at Central Park. And there's actually video. If you guys go back and look through Summerstage video, there's video of Gil Scott-Heron at Summerstage that year. And so I'm just so thankful that I got to see him perform live.
Yeah,
My time.
no doubt. Yeah, that day I remember vividly when he passed, which would be, what is it, about a week from now, right? Would be the
Right.
anniversary
Yeah.
about 10 years ago, and now he's being got put into the Hall of Fame, and it's just so great to see that his craft being acknowledged on a broader level. A lot of that deep truth is not popular in America. Like, I mean, look at this country. They don't want to even promote critical race theory. Like, the thing that's going to save you from getting hot coffee smashed in your face, you know what I mean, when you say something stupid.
Right. I
For
agree.
lack of a better, I think because I got some stuff, but like I will smash you in the face. No, but like, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, the thing that could move you towards a better understanding and a broader is perceived. So the truth in America is antithetical to America. It's like
Yeah.
history is America's biggest enemy.
Yes. Yes.
In a lot of ways, and I say that on many parts, because it's not just white or black. Like I said, when coming back from Ethiopia, I had to really deconstruct what being black was, what lane I was, like how much I was doing that was too far out of the codified blackness of American blackness, which is completely different around the globe, and it wasn't my fault. My mom raised me there, and that's how I came to the game. Like, it wasn't like I was trying to get away from something or
Yeah.
deny my color. It was just like, I just was raised with a different script. Like, you can't force me to speak Chinese if I was raised speaking Dutch, like the
Right.
language just didn't translate to where, and of course I learned as I went along and began to incorporate that further and appreciate the black experience. I wasn't unaware of it, but I realized that it's not the absolute in
Right.
a lot of ways, and that it deserves a reinterpretation, and that's where my personal reinterpretation, not a broader, I can't speak to anybody else's experience, which I've tried to do, and I've been humbled in places where I may not have, or I might have thought that my experience spoke more volumes than it did. And I'm realizing, okay, let me just tell my story and let people make it up for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so interesting too, because you go to certain circles and you say you've been, it happened today, we've traveled, like we have traveled, right? And so
Right.
someone I was speaking to was surprised that I said I had been to Iceland. I've been to Iceland 3 times. And it's not even a brag. That's just what is. You know what I'm saying? And so just people need to open their minds and see this larger world out there. And I just feel like all the division anymore, people are getting, shrunk in their little circles and not even trying to see what else is out there in the world. Even in your own community. I mean, that's why I wore my shirt today. Just my little hands up.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
That's
there you go.
What it's about, man. That's what it's really about. Like, it's so.
No, it is, Danny. No, I 100% agree, and I'm so glad once again. First of all, just sit here, and just as long as we spoke in like a hot minute, it ain't like we lost complete touch because I was always checking in. But the internet does is a double-edged sword, right? You just press like and you feel like you talk to somebody. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's true.
I liked your picture 6 months ago.
I was touched. But wait a minute. Speaking of America, though, I do want to. Do you have about 20 more minutes or so? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, hang in with us, y'all. Thank you guys for joining. I'm with Sharrif Simmons, spoken word poet, musician, all of the above, musician, arts educator, author. Tell me about your decision to move to Alabama and what that was like, being in Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham. So how'd that work? I was in New York, moved to Atlanta with Jess, and then we went our separate ways a couple of years later. And I moved from Atlanta, where I met a lot of my family from my father's side, and then fell in love with one of my sister's best friends. It was just like, where you go? So I thought she lived in New York, right? And I was all prepared to go back to New York with her. And, of course, I had my son with me and all that. And we were adjusting to a new dynamic. And it turned out she lived in Birmingham. And I was like, you know what? Let me go down there. And I went down to Birmingham and was like, wow, this is not what I thought. I would have followed her anywhere, either way. But like, I truly, of all the places I hadn't thought, that was going to be on the map. And I went down.
What did you assume it was going to be?
Well, I was much younger and I was just exploring, what the possibilities. One, the first thing I thought it was going to be was temporary, right?
Right.
I was like, we just going to make a pit stop here for like a year or two and then, go from there.
Yeah.
But then I realized that I had developed a lot of personal prejudices around a place that I had never been. And I had to call myself on like my own expectation of what I imagined prejudice is, not racism. Like, I wasn't racist about it, but I was prejudging the situation. I was like, oh man, this country air, like what they gonna tell me down here and all that. Like, what's really good,
Right.
And I was surprised at how not just sophisticated, but how forward thinking and how aspirational the culture turned out to be.
Okay.
And how much of a tool I became in that process over time. And I took Birmingham over. Like you could go down there today.
Can I just, so you were instrumental in the creation of, you joined the Alice Stevens Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
And then were instrumental in the creation of Art Play, which is like arts education. And then in 2010, you founded, I remember this, the Birmingham Arts and Music Festival.
I sure did.
You founded a festival. You went down there and founded a festival.
Yeah. I pieced that whole city together in ways I made history there, in ways they had never come together.
Right.
Before that, you
Amazing.
know. I did. I saw the potential of it. I saw what was missing, and I was part of that equation. And it helped because around 2005, I did HBO Def Poetry Jam.
Right.
And when I came back to Birmingham after that, they were like, he's a celebrity, you know, because I was on HBO. Like, that's the biggest, you know, and I was accessible. I wasn't, you know, it wasn't a big deal to me. For real. I was just like, that was a nice thing, but it was part of just the whole process of what I imagined life was like. And so that allowed me to develop I had a public access show there called Real Arts Birmingham. And that ran for like 5 years from 2000.
What?
Yeah, from 2005 all the way to like 2010.
Oh my
So
God.
the festival, it was Wayne's World or like a Black Wayne. Like, it was so crazy. Like, I never thought people were watching, so I just made stuff up every week.
Oh my God. Sharrif.
I promise you, sister, it was a trip. There's still some video, but I started interviewing all the local artists, and I was like, yo, there's mad music down here, like incredible musicians, you know, were coming through Real Arts Birmingham. It was shot in the studio at Bright House Cable, you know, and then in 2007, out of the blue, these little punks shot me in a robbery in Birmingham. You know, that was, you know, and so that just spun my whole world around. Survived, obviously, through that. You know, I got gravely injured, but made it through. And that added even another dimension. Your
femur or something, right?
Oh, yeah. My leg got jammed up pretty bad.
That's awful.
It was a terrible time, but the recovery of it also opened my mind to a very deep human experience. Like, people who helped me were Black, white, I mean, you know, Latin, you know, Latino, like the whole community was like, nah, not this brother, like, you know.
Aww.
And they raised me up and gave me the strength. And the festival was really my thank you for that city. It really was. Like, I fell in love with Birmingham, and we went and did the dance for a while, and it ran for 5 years.
That's amazing, Sharrif. Do you remember the biggest capacity you got to? Like, how many, like, audience member wise?
Oh, so you gotta understand, the first year I had 13 venues all running at the same time.
Wait, what?
So listen, there was 123 bands played the first year.
What?
Over the course of 3 days, from Friday till Sunday afternoon.
Sharrif, are you serious?
That's how big, you know. And then the second year, because it went so well, everybody wanted to preach. It was in 22 venues. It was the South. It was the South by Southwest or whatever of Birmingham.
No way. So
and
you
I had
sponsorship and everything?
Oh yeah, everybody. I had mad money. I did. I was like, oh, I'm rich. I struck it. I mean, I was loaded. I had, you know, sponsors and, you know, the ticket prices, and it was an experience. So like, it was incredible. It was an incredible, transformative thing for the city of Birmingham. Like, it came right on the heels of one of the end of their festival called City Stages, which had been running for 20 years. So I was the first festival outside of City Stages after that stopped.
You know what? I did City Stages with Kathy Sledge.
What? Yep. I can see that.
I'll never forget it. And you know who was on the bill was Donna Summer.
Of course. Yeah.
So we opened for her, and I'll never forget. We used
you were in Birmingham. You were probably at Kelly Ingram Park or one of the parks or something like that. Yeah.
And I just remember the crowd was like
endless,
blocks deep.
Yeah.
And then Donna Summer came on after us, and that was my first time ever seeing her live. And her daughter was with her. Her daughter Brooklyn.
Wow.
And Donna Summer was super sweet. She was super sweet and so gracious. But yeah, so right, City Stages. I remember that. It's incredible.
Yeah, so I was the first. City Stages ended in 2009, and in 2010, I started the Birmingham Arts and Music Festival. The inverted part of it was a local festival, so it was only for local bands. We didn't bring out any talent. I mean, we brought local, like, regional acts. But for
Yeah.
the most part, it was all just people there. So they got to celebrate. There were people who were in venues they never got to play in. People they never knew were there. I used to put hip hop in rock clubs. I was putting rock in hip
Yes.
hop clubs. I just stirred the pot,
Ah,
and that's what we do, right? We agitate. That's what
right.
creators do.
Sharif,
And
that is so impressive. I really did not realize it was that vast. That's incredible.
oh yeah, I had the second year. I had maybe a total of 190 bands play, like almost 200 bands. Yeah, it
And
was
how do you
next.
expect them?
Well, you know what we did? We would put them in the venues, and everything started at 6 p.m. and there would be 10 bands playing in a row, like every hour. So we never
Wow.
stopped. We just had it running. I had an incredible team of people. Celeste Laborde, Josh Vasa, they all bought into the dream. I was their fearless lead. I was like a cult leader down there. I was like, come on. I was like, I gave them everything but the Kool-Aid. I promise
You
you.
so crazy. Oh my God. That's
And Omari grew up in that. Then he got into the Alabama School of Fine Arts,
yeah.
and that changed the game. Like once he got in there, I decided to stay.
Yeah.
And so that's all gonna be in the second book is called Jazz Cabbage. So the
Okay.
first one is the
Cabbage.
American African story. The second one is Jazz Cabbage, and that's what the whole thing is about. My time in Birmingham.
Sharif, what an incredible life. And
Yeah.
so, since you mentioned love, are you dabbling, dibbling now? Do you have a love?
you know, that's always been an interesting journey for you, boy. You know what I'm saying? But lately I've just been. I can't do these dating apps and all them things. They scare me. They just scare. Like I don't know. Like, I just like I'm sorry. I can't. Like I ain't gonna front. Like I put something out there. You know what I mean? And every once in a while I'll meet somebody who I feel is nice or what have you, and I appreciate that. But I'm really in a space of rediscovering my voice on a literary level.
Yeah.
So it involves a lot of self-centeredness. And right now I'm good. I'm like kind of focusing on getting a lot reconstructed. Like last year was a huge interruption in my economic arc. It was I was all set because me and Mark Gilmore had been working together again.
Mark Gilmore, another fabulous musician in person.
Exactly. So me and him, I went to Stockholm. And so last year, I went to Stockholm in 2019 and did Brussels. Me and Omari did Amsterdam. I brought him out there for his 25th birthday, that whole thing. And had a great time. But that time was spent developing a tour for 2020.
Mm.
And I was supposed to go back there in March and do the whole northern region and develop more and make my living in Holland and in Northern Europe and in Central Europe. And obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just kind of retooling my vision and like I get focusing on the literary aspect and
Yes.
yeah, and going and I read Lisa Jesse Peterson's book. I'm inspired so much by my peers. Losing mums was really,
Yes.
really a tough one. That was heartbreaking. Because we stayed close. Me and Mike Ladd stayed close.
Yeah.
Lisa Jesse Peterson, I read her book all day, which was brilliant. It was
Yeah.
genius. And Saul
Yeah.
Williams got a movie coming out in a
Yeah.
minute.
Passing was yeah, moms.
Yeah, Jessica and Kweli. I think she was on Talib Kweli's label, and she has an album coming out and just countless books and all. Like my whole we're living off of that, and still Wood Harris. I hadn't seen Wood in a minute.
Yes.
Asha Bandele and Tony Medina
Yes.
and Willie Perdomo, and it's just
Yes.
like
I'm
an
so happy
ongoing. Yeah.
in my presenting life, and Jessica is all me about bringing Black women rock to New York, and that's gonna happen. But I'm just so thankful that in my presenting life that I've been able to bring some of you guys to the stage. In my role now. Like was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago now that we did the Deaf Poetry Reunion. with Danny Simmons and Mums and Bonafide.
That was well, there was a couple. 'Cause I remember I came to the one in Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one more recent at the park, right? At
Yeah, the one in
Summerstage.
Marcus Garvey. But then there was something just recently that I think Lisa curated up in Marcus Garvey Park. Just I think last weekend actually.
What for Mums? Yeah, another reading for him. Yeah, for Mums. Yeah, yeah. No, but that should be a yearly thing. Something that we developed as. I've got a concept actually. I'd like to run by some folks.
Yeah, it really should be, and it could be. I mean, it's not going anywhere, so why not celebrate it and make it a thing? You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah.
why
No
not?
doubt, no doubt. I was
But I don't
thinking
want to let
about
you
that.
go before I ask you about. Give me one
Uh huh.
second to check my notes.
I hope I was answering your question. I could go on tangents because I feel like I'm talking to you personally. I love this format because
No,
it's like,
it's perfect. It's
yeah.
great. But I want to obviously wait a minute. So I know because this is something that Jeremiah used to always bring up. You won an Emmy, right? Was it an Emmy?
A Southern Region Emmy, yes, I did for my work on Thornton Dial Has Something to Say, and some of the songs off of the Echo Effect were not won for the trailer, and then we were nominated for some of the soundtrack work I did on that. Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Then we worked on a song together, which I put in my stories. She was.
She was,
She
yeah,
was.
yeah, she was. I still got the repertoire stuff. I go back into the crates every once in a while and break out the hits. It's just an honor that people know this stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And then for as many people who know it, there's like at least 10,000 who don't, and that's why I feel comfortable in that space, sharing and getting people to discover me. I really enjoy that I have that body of work. I am very focused on the new body of work, or just like retooling my thoughts to have another conversation with the public, and ideally really live inside of the work I'm doing. Like right now, I'm working at the Old Globe here in California, and we're doing theater work for the students who would be for the immigrants who came, people who migrated here. They're not immigrants, they're human beings. So like their migrating pattern, and I don't identify them as that, that's not a term. That's like calling somebody a minority. Like, I ain't no minority, I'm a freaking human being. But the people who migrated here and who were separated at the border from their parents, and they're being housed in this facility here at the convention center here in San Diego, one of the only places in North America that is offering them, while they're in transition, some kind of cultural engagement and arts engagement. And we're the ones doing that with the Globe, something Freedom put together. And shout out to Liesel and some of my folks, my family that I'm working with over there. But, it's been really engaging. Today was our second class. I saw upwards of 200 students a day, and we just get them engaged and give them a smile on their face, and a brief reprieve from what is clearly a traumatic and difficult period. But the best of humanity is over there at the convention center, making up for what was clearly the worst of humanity, to even engage into that kind of process. But all in all, we're going to focus more on the solution and the contributions that we can give to them. That's my sister right there, Jammy Jam. I see you out there. What's up, Jammy? Woo! I'll talk about overdue for a reunion. I gotta get back to the East Coast, but
yes, we need a reunion. But I'm so glad you touched on that, because I was definitely going to ask you about that, because we spoke about it briefly before, about the work that you're doing out there with the human beings, and giving them a brief respite from this traumatizing situation that they're in. And I think we need to hear more of those stories, and not just, oh, it's happening, and then we go on with our day. Like these needs to be things that we're thinking about, and however we can help and keep them at the forefront. I just feel things are like news stories, and then it's on to the next thing, and it's on to the next thing. It's like, you know. So I thank you. I applaud you. I mean, it must be heartbreaking too to even.
It is. It's a heavy. I mean, I just, like I said, I got here and I sound checked with you, and I'm so glad it went through so I can share this conversation. But like, have to decompress and like, engage, and it's just so loving and resilient and present and like wanting to get engaged. Some of them aren't in the mood, but like we really do our best to bring the best selves to the work, and at the same time bring out the best we can in the students. And
Mhm.
it's been, and it's a 9-week program, so I'll be there every Friday. And so we still, and like I said, we see an average of 250 to 200 students a day.
Wow.
And I play in music and poetry and just letting them just get
Yeah.
engaged and happy in the games. And it's been definitely rewarding and telling, about some of what we can do to make things better, and at the same time, to avoid developing crises like this. So there's a lot of work human beings have to get to, but I'm proud to be a part of this. I'm
When
honored.
Sam first went out there to the globe, I mean, and what I've seen him do, he was the perfect person for that job. All the work in the community that he's been doing since he's been out there is just so just inspiring. And like even this year with Summerstage, with the coming out of this pandemic into back into live performances, we were not able to go into the neighborhoods like we normally would. And I've said it before, but I'm really gonna miss doing the citywide shows, my dance performances where we would get the kids up on the stage and dance a little bit and just see what it feels like to be a dancer and learn a routine. And I'm really gonna miss that this year, like just being engaged with young people. And I love the kids, what I'm saying? I love the kids, but we'll get there. And I'm just trying to find other ways that I can be engaged with either, other organizations, and yeah, I'm busy, but I'm not that busy. I'm never too
No
busy for.
doubt. No, and this is the good work. It's the future. It's engaging and stimulating, thought patterns, and putting that creative bug into people that will inspire them. Even if you catch
Yeah.
one or two people, like it's so worth it. And you can see their faces lighting up and the curiosity. And,
Yeah.
you're just grateful for what you have. It's a sense of gratitude. I'm grateful that I had that moment, that somebody engaged me that way. And then I was able to, turn around and return that. And Freedom is an invaluable member of this creative community here. Him and Patricia are, they, like I call them the Jay-Z and Beyonce of theater. Like they ain't not playing. Like they are not playing. They real talk.
Awesome.
That's my friend for sure. And I'm just feeling inspired. Like I said, I'm getting these books out, and that's gonna be the next incarnation in early 2002, where
Yes.
I'll be dropping a book. I'm trying to get 2 books a year until I'm 60. That's the goal. And I ain't gonna tell you when
Okay.
that is, but it's coming up.
So just so you know, so your website is linked to my link tree in my bio, guys. You can find Sharrif's website in my link tree, and on in his website are links to his books, to his music, and your podcast.
Yes, my
Tell us
podcast.
about the podcast.
Yeah, the Possible Podcast. So basically, we discuss possibilities, like what is possible, right? Like, and there's a theme. So I did my first season, and right now I'm in the writing process. But we're gonna launch it in the first week of June, the second season, and fingers crossed I'll have Mr. Omari Jazz Ade as my first guest himself, if he can make time, being the busy brother that he is. And we'll launch the second season soon when I get my first draft that's almost done under my belt. So, a lot of creative stuff, feeling inspired. Thank you for going down memory lane with me here and like, giving me that look back of like, what I've done. I feel empowered by my past
Yeah.
and functional in my future.
Woo! Wait, say it again. Say it again.
I'm Dr. Fusion. Just empowered by the past and functioning in the future. Absolutely. That's where I'm
Yes,
at.
I love that. Yeah, I've definitely, since I've hit the 50 mark, which first of all, I was like, but then I was like, you know what? I'm okay. Like, I'm really feeling like in my purpose, I realize I have a platform and that you know, I influence a lot of people, and I'm good with that. And you know, as long as I can be that conduit to bring people together, to share my love of the arts, for sure my love of dance, and make sure it's visible, especially in communities of color. That you know, and as a Black woman, that we are not a monolith. We are so many things. We're so many things, you know. And I'm on that mission. I'm on that mission. So I'm loving doing these interviews, and you know, this the summer's coming. Things are about to get crazy.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can still maintain these Friday episodes. I should be able to. We'll see. I really want to, because they're healing and they're fun for me as well.
Yeah,
So,
how long?
you know, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens. Whatever
Yeah,
this summer.
how long you been at Summerstage now? For a hot minute, right?
Woo! This is my 14th season.
What now? Wow,
I
that's great.
know.
You know, it was such a great position of influence and pop. You know, like for New York and all that. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I got hired in 2006 by the amazing Alexa Birdsong, the visionary that she is.
Yeah.
She took a chance on me because, you know, I'm not ashamed to say I didn't have any administrative background in
Right.
presenting and producing. I was just an artist. I mean, I'm out there just being an artist, you know?
Yeah.
And she took a chance on me. And so my first presenting season was 2007. And I'm still here rocking and rolling. I mean, obviously COVID hit us all really hard.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and come back and do what we do, as it's gonna look a lot different, but you know, stay tuned on that. Our announced date is June 3rd. But I mean, New York is blossoming. I mean, again, Little Island, I mentioned that earlier. Celebrate Brooklyn season is gonna be dope. You gotta come back and visit, Sharif. You gotta
Oh,
come
no,
back
I'm
and do a
coming.
visit.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'll be there this summer actually. So
Oh,
as soon as I cross the border, I'm wrapping up this program here, and then I'm in New York for a little while, you know, and
oh my God, we have got to get up. What was that? What was that Ethiopian spot in Harlem? Oh, I can think of the name of it now. What? Starts with a W.
I wash.
Awa. So that was the first time I ever had Ethiopian food, when I went there with you guys all those
Yeah,
years
of
ago.
course. That's our spot. So I wash. I had Amari's birthday there countless times. Had my birthdays. I mean, that's home, right?
The
That's
spot.
sister.
Oh
That's
gosh.
sister cook. Yeah, yeah. No, that's the spot, and we'll break bread, get with the fam, and I'll be in New York for a hot minute. So we'll
You
make
better
a
let me know
point.
when you're here so we can see each other in person.
Absolutely.
And thank you again for this. This will be able to, I'll hopefully archive this right when we're done on my
Okay.
IGTV, and it'll be also on my YouTube. So
Good.
if you want to share with anybody, or if you guys watching missed any portion of this and want to go back and watch this amazing conversation, you'll be able to see this afterwards. I'll post the link and everything like that. So Sharif, I'm so glad this worked.
Yeah, we had to jump through a few.
It was so touch and go, right? Well, listen, anything else you
But you
want to
know what?
tell us? Any good
It was.
word? How we can support you? Just what do you want to leave us with?
Oh, go to my webpage. Like right now, I'm just so entrenched in this writing, which is clearly one of the hardest endeavors I've embarked on ever in my creative career. But I'm grateful to have the time and the space to do it. And I'm on my website, www.sharrifsimmons.com, has some information on the podcast and various things like that. And I'm on Facebook and on Instagram, so you can friend me, join me. I'm not on Twitter that much. I'm not, Twitter just ain't my thing. But like I'm trying to reach out and be present and
Yeah,
get active. But like I said, latter part of this year and very much the early part of next year, I'm going to be hard to miss because I'm going to be pushing it all. So
good,
if you don't
good.
see me now, you'll see me in the beginning of 2022 with a whole new agenda. So I'm looking
I love
forward to
it.
that.
Well, however I can support and promote, and if you got anything new coming out, let me know. I'll share it. I have no problem. I mean, that the easiest thing to do is just to share somebody's posts and let
Exactly.
people know about it. So
And
I
I
absolutely.
will briefly mention I do have a children's album. So I wrote a bunch of poems for kids.
Oh
Yeah, it's called for boys, girls, and children when living in fear is not enough. Kind of a little ode to Ntozake with that, and it's really talking about contemporary issue. I wrote it inspired after George Floyd when I realized that a lot of what's happening and the killings is rooted in fear. So if children can be raised without that fear element so that they can start seeing humanity at a young age, I'm talking about largely young white kids who grow up to be in the force and have a real different, but it's for everyone. It's not just narrow, but I really would like to focus on people who are trying to have that conversation with their children. And this is going to be both educational and entertainment. So I'll link you for that. And I'm hoping to have that out by the end of June.
Yes, please. Oh, that's so important. Yeah, these babies.
Yeah.
But I want to end on a happy note with that. But
Yes, that's a positive. That's going to be a fun thing. It's a fun album, music, poetry for younger kids. Danny, I mean, talk about a happy note, just being this reunion alone and being able to speak my piece and have a conversation to your audience is a blessing. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. I love you, Sharif, and I'm gonna let you out and I'm gonna say my little goodbyes. But please stay in touch with me. I'm gonna have a little dinner or something with my friends right now. But I'll touch base with you over the weekend so we can just really
We'll recap and keep on talking. Okay.
Okay. I love you.
Take care. Love you too, sweetheart. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. All right. Yes, that was my brother Sharrif Simmons. Okay. How amazing is he? So inspiring. Please follow him. Go to his website, sharrifsimmons.com, and you can link to his books, his music, his podcast. And again, we go back. That's family. That's family right there for me. So as always, I appreciate you guys for being here and hanging in there with me on these Friday evenings. I'm going to try to keep going through the summer, even though Summerstage will be kicking in really soon. So, but all good. I'm going to make it happen one way or the other. So I appreciate you all. And hey, Tracy, are you still here? Tracy Bartlow. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Michi coming in on the goodbyes. But I appreciate you guys. And listen, stay safe out there. You know, my t-shirt, I don't know if you can see it. It says, be kind. Be kind. I know it's hard sometimes, but I'm not about to get all preachy because, you know, that's not me. But be kind to your neighbors. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. So, again, thank you for watching and stay safe. Have a great weekend. And it's going to be a hot one here on the East Coast in New York. So, I'm going to see you out there in them shorts. Okay. They're getting their bodies together. Hey, Trey Ford Fitness. And I will see you next week. My guest next week is the incredible dancer, Efrat Ashari, who will be performing soon at the Guggenheim for the Works in Process series. So I'm looking forward to speaking with her. So I will see you all next week. Until next time. Bye.